Welcome to Trends with Benefits, a podcast by VanEck with a forward-looking perspective. We explore new ways of thinking about the markets, investing, work, and life. Here's your host, Ed Lopez.
This is Trends with Benefits. I am Ed Lopez, and I'm here with Lindsay Jurist-Rosner.
You got it.
Hey, Lindsay. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Lindsay is co-founder and CEO of Wellthy, Wellthy.
Thank you. Yes, we always have to spell it right.
Great name, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
How did did it just come out like instantly, or did you have to work on that?
So Wellthy, the name Wellthy is a little controversial. People love it or hate it. And the idea was that the real wealth in life is health. And so when I bought the domain name Wellthy.com back in 2009, so years before we had a business, because I was obsessed with doing something in this arena and so had the kind of fun exercise of thinking through if I ever get up the nerve to build this business, what would I want it to be called? And thought through a lot of different options and thought up Wellthy, and then Wellthy.com was available. Somebody owned it and was squatting on it, and so I paid $2,000 for it, which was a big check to write.
Yeah.
But I consulted. There's an expert in domain names, and I consulted him, and I said, is this $2,000? Is that a crazy purchase? And he actually said that's actually a really good price because it's a one-word.com and a slight misspelling from a very common word. And so if you don't eventually use it someday, I think you could resell it for a lot of money. And so I thought it was an investment. If nothing else, I have this cool domain name.
That's awesome. But you had the name before you had the company. So 2009, launched the company 2014?
Yes, exactly.
Wow. Talk about foresight.
Just talk about being slow and, not sure if I was ready to go and do it. But
I want to go back and talk about that, actually, your process for launching the business and
Sure.
getting up the nerve to do it. But tell me what Wellthy is, just kind of briefly.
So Wellthy's mission is that we have set out to help the 66 million Americans who take care of aging, chronically ill, or disabled loved ones. Chronic care or elder care are sort of the categories where we operate. And the business is that we support families in providing a better healthcare experience. And we do that through this software-enabled service. So we provide to families a dedicated care coordinator and a really modern online dashboard experience. And the care coordinator becomes the family's partner, or sort of like their healthcare project manager. And gets to know the family's goals and situation and needs, and then goes about getting things done for the family. And then everything that's happening is just organized and centralized and digitized in that online Wellthy account.
Now, maybe we can take a step back and kind of set the stage for this. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the state of caregiving in the U.S. generally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming you saw a need there for this kind of service.
Sure. Yeah, there's a massive need today, and that need is growing every day. And the macro trends that drive our business are the things that we hear about in the news, and people are talking about the fact that we have the largest aging population that we've ever seen before in history, and these individuals will live longer, so longer lifespans with more complicated healthcare needs.
Yeah.
We've done an incredible job with science and technology and innovation with keeping people alive longer with really complicated chronic conditions that people used to die from, and now people can live for a long time with them. And that's a great thing. It's also very problematic for kind of managing care over a longer period of time. And then we also see another trend around children with special needs. So more families who have children diagnosed with autism, ADHD, Down syndrome, those numbers are also climbing. And at the same time, our healthcare and elder care systems are the most complex and opaque and expensive that they've ever been in U.S. history. And so the kind of compounding effect of those factors results in incredible stress and struggle for families. Families take on 90% of long-term care in this country today, and they just do so with tremendous difficulty.
Yeah, it's hard to navigate all of that and the coordination of care and understanding what is available to you.
That's right. We see, unlike becoming a parent where you have 9, really 10 months of preparation, and it's sort of a known path, families don't get any advance notice or time for preparation when they become, when they kind of fall into this caregiving role with a new diagnosis or a fall or a hospitalization. It's really overnight that things shift and families have to navigate really complicated care needs with really large financial implications.
So the client experience in with Wellthy.
Yeah.
How do they get involved with Wellthy, and what's the basic business model?
Yeah. So a family can come to our website or call us or email or chat with us on our website and learn more about what we do and how we can help their family. And then they can get started with a care coordinator just really simply through our website. So there's a short kind of onboarding process for the family where we ask a couple of questions about the care recipient, their conditions, and then some of the immediate needs that the family needs support with. We use that information to match the family up with the best fit care coordinator. So we do that matching process automatically through our platform. And we have these incredible care coordinators with varying areas of expertise and personal backgrounds. They're majority social workers by background, but having worked in various settings. And so we're matching that family up with that best fit care coordinator. And then the care coordinator is recommending a kickoff call or sometimes just getting started immediately with helping the family with the support they need. Our business model, so we launched the business direct to consumer and private pay, Family First, in 2014, really started working with families in 2015. And then it was in 2017 that we started working with employers. And that is our main focus, our main kind of marketing channel, revenue channel is that we sell it into companies. So companies cover the cost of our service as an employee benefit. So we are an employee benefit here at VanEck, which we're really proud to have VanEck as a client of ours, and we think it's a huge win-win. So for these employees who are caregivers, they're dealing with an enormous amount of personal stress and also trying to balance that with their day-to-day work duties. And so the employer, by offering Wellthy, gets to support that employee, also improve their stress, improve their productivity, also potentially prevent a leave of absence or that employee having to take time off or even leave the company altogether because of their caregiving needs.
It's a great benefit for employees and for the employer in that regard.
Definitely.
I know a couple colleagues that have used your service here and
great.
they rave about it.
Oh, great.
Let's talk about the care coordinators. Do you have coverage all over the U.S.? Does it have to be in a certain area?
We have coverage. So our care coordinator, we have over 60 folks on our coordination team today, and they're a distributed team. So we don't operate a call center or anything like that. They're spread out across the country. And so we have really nice coverage, geographic coverage, time zone coverage. But we'll say that what we find when we match a family up with their dedicated care coordinator, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone who is local on the ground in the community. Our support is entirely virtual, and our care coordinators know how the healthcare system works, the services and resources that are available at the federal, state, and local level. And so it doesn't really much matter where in the country the care recipient is. We're matching the family up with the best fit care coordinator who can get things done for them. And so you could be in New York, mom could be in California, Texas.
That's my situation. Yeah.
And your care coordinator might be in Pennsylvania, and we've matched you up with that care coordinator because that care coordinator has really deep experience dealing with a very particular issue that you want support with. Maybe it's Medicare or Medicaid, or support for somebody who's dealing with cognitive decline, dementia, or Alzheimer's, or a variety of other kind of issues or considerations.
Does it have to be a serious care issue, or can it be, I just need somebody to go listen in on my parents' doctor's appointments and report back? Yeah,
well, we think about general aging as a chronic condition, because as folks get older, there are a variety of sort of considerations and needs, and we want to make sure we support families there. So, yeah, we focus on complex, chronic, or ongoing care, and that does include people who have a diagnosis, or it includes people who deal with general aging-related issues. Our purview is not helping families with, and not that we wouldn't eventually go here, but we don't typically get involved in more kind of benign or acute issues, like if your child has a cold or the flu or allergies or something like that.
Got it. Now, the care coordinators can be, say, in Pennsylvania, in our example here, but the care provided to the recipient that's local, will they meet somebody?
Yeah, well, so from the Wellthy team, we're always going to work with families virtually, but the types of support and resources, services we set up for families will be oftentimes, coming into the home or in person. So, for example, finding that perfect fit in-home aide or companion caregiver who's going to come into the home to support mom or dad, or helping a family with home modifications, grab bars in the bathroom and retrofitting the home with regards to rugs and carpets and putting in a stair glide. Those things require somebody to come into the home, and we're helping to source and find that right individual who's going to help with those home modifications. So the best analogy to think of is we're sort of like the general contractor for complex care for families.
And how do you go about finding people to actually help?
Be the care coordinators or the in-home aides.
Exactly.
Which
or
one?
Both.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, our care coordinators come from a variety of backgrounds. Most are master's level licensed clinical social workers by background. We initially started finding people through master's programs at various universities across the country, and we've posted roles and found incredible people through Indeed, and then through there are some really great blogs for jobs for folks who want to work from home. And there's a great blog called Rat Race Rebellion, and really interesting, great blog that was started by a husband-wife couple. Initially, I think focused on caregivers for veterans, and they posted a role for us. It was probably about 2 years ago, and we got an application a second for several hours. Our team was like, shut it down, make them take it down.
Wow.
But there is so much interest and so much and so many really talented individuals who are interested in doing the work that we do and getting the benefit of working from home and having that flexibility. Many of our care coordinators are also caregivers themselves, raising kids, having families have children with special needs or have older adults that they're taking care of. And so the work we provide them is very meaningful on multiple levels. And then on the in-home aid side, when we find someone to go into the home to support mom or dad, or if we're helping with a move into a facility, finding a provider, any of those searches that we're supporting the family with, we are incredibly thorough with our research and vetting process. I mean, our entire focus is that we want to provide the support that we would need or want for our own family. And so we take these every family situation into consideration. And it's all very personal, right? Like when I was taking care of my mom, finding an in-home aide for her, my mom was very particular. It couldn't be a smoker, couldn't be a Republican, couldn't be someone who talked too much about God. There were a lot of, specifics there. And so, not only do we take into consideration the care needs of the care recipient, the support they need in the home, but also their personality and preferences. This is a very personal hire. It's someone who's going to see your loved one in a very vulnerable, intimate setting. And so you want somebody who's really that right fit.
Absolutely. I feel like parents get more picky as they get older.
That's right. That's right. Or just more open about their pickiness.
True, yeah. No filter.
Yeah, no filter, right.
What happened to that inner monologue?
I know, seriously.
What's one thing that you've learned since you started the business?
Well, one thing that I've been so struck by is just how incredible social workers are. I have this whole belief that social workers are this underappreciated, undervalued, underutilized asset within the healthcare system. These are individuals who go through really extensive schooling and training. I mean, master's degrees. They are kind and empathetic. They are project managers. They've sort of project management mindsets. They're really good at getting stuff done. And I think as our healthcare system gets more complex, as families' care needs get more complex, as automation and technology comes into play, I think the role of the social worker as this kind of family advocate, project manager, is going to only increase in relevance for families.
Do you all work with financial advisors?
We do, and so I'm conscious of that. That FAs are the listeners here. Yeah, so we have started to work with FAs. I mean, one of the things that's really interesting is financial advisors, as they're speaking with their clients, it's almost like the elephant in the room. Like, they can't ignore this topic of caregiving in helping families plan and think about their financial future. And so we have started to support FAs more kind of on a one-off basis when financial advisors say to their client, goodness, like, you really do have a complicated care situation, and let's get you some support with that, and I know the company that can help. So we're very eager to work and support families.
I feel like it's got to be a practice management tool of theirs to be able to suss out that potential need or have a resource for clients.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we're passionate about is just even if we can provide support to FAs just around having those conversations with clients. It can be uncomfortable or difficult conversations to ask about how mom or dad's doing and what is their financial status, and what do you as their adult child want to do if they run out of money, and do you want to pay out of your pocket for care, or think about other ways to help them pay for care. And those are really difficult conversations, and we're supporting families with having those conversations, but it'll more and more FAs are getting involved in helping families have those conversations as well.
Yeah, that's great. We've had a couple of discussions with previous podcast guests that talked about the changing nature of the financial advisor business, kind of perhaps in some cases moving away from the commoditized fee for assets under management, and more about giving better quality advice and I guess knowing where to go. I think this
being
slots
that
right
partner.
into that. Yeah.
Yep. And it's more holistic, right? Rather than just looking at sort of the kind of balance sheet and the cash and the investments, what are the other factors, the sort of holistic picture that will impact kind of future financial needs. I think that's really critical.
Yeah. So your grandfather was a client. That wasn't your personal case necessarily for starting the business, right?
That's right. Yeah. So the personal story, my caregiving story, is that I got involved in my mom's care when I was a kid. And she got diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis when I was 9, MS, if you know MS. And I was involved in her care for 28 years. She passed away about 2.5 years ago. And it was the single hardest and most stressful, loneliest thing that I've done in my life. And over the years, it took a lot of different forms. I did move home after college, and I lived at home, and I would get her up in the morning and help her get dressed and help her with breakfast and go into the office and come home, help her at lunch, go back into the office, help her in the evenings. Did that for years, and then had the tough conversation with her that I was going to move out, and we set up some support and infrastructure for her. And I've hired and fired more in-home aides than I can count. And we went through hospitalizations and surgeries, special treatments. And then the last 1.5 years of her life, she was on hospice. And it was over those years and through the experience that I started to meet people going through their own, for so long, my caregiving story, my situation was this kind of secret double life, the second job that I held that I didn't really talk about. And then as I reached kind of later in my 30s, I guess in my late 20s, I started to meet more people going through their own versions of my story. And whether it's a parent with dementia or a child with autism, it's the same problem statement, which is just that it's way too darn difficult for families to manage and navigate complex care in this country today. And so really set out to create a better healthcare experience for families like all of ours.
And that was happening around when? Was that around the 2009 time period? Or?
Yeah, exactly. So it was really, I was in business school. My sort of moment of realization, just how prevalent caregiving was when I was in business school. It was my first year, I think it was finals or midterms. My mom was in the hospital. She was actually getting an experimental treatment at NIH in Washington, D.C., and I wanted to fly home to be by her side in the hospital, and I was going to miss my exams. And so I went around to my professors and to my learning team, as they call it, and I told folks that I was going to have to go home and I was going to have to take my exams from there. And it was sort of my moment of coming out. I had not really talked publicly or much about my mom and my role in her care. And it was this kind of profound moment of connection, and all of these people who I shared my story with shared their story back to me. So I had professors saying, I'm dealing with something kind of similar. My mom has dementia. She lives 2 hours away. I drive home on the weekends to grocery shop and clean her house and help her get set up for the week. I'm so stressed about her during the week. I'm worried something more is going to happen. I probably should be doing more. And then I had learning team members. I had a learning team member I'll never forget who said to me, my mom has MS too. How have we never talked about this? And I think it does point to kind of a larger issue in our society, which is just that caregiving is stigmatized. We talk so openly about becoming a new parent, and there's the physical kind of manifestation of the process, but we show pictures on our phone of, you don't do the same thing when you have a parent who's aging. You don't have that same kind of conversation. It's not the same water cooler talk, and so we sort of all kind of silently struggle. And so part of our passion with the business is just to raise awareness of the topic.
I did want to ask about Wellthy in terms of what's new for 2020. What are you guys working on?
We have a lot of exciting stuff coming up in 2020. So we're launching a mobile application. We, to date, have been mobile enabled, so web app, but we are launching a native mobile application so that families can get push notifications, and care coordinators can as well. We're also exploring piloting Wellthy in a couple of markets outside of the U.S. We have some large employer clients that have offices in other markets and have individuals there who are dealing with caregiving. And so we're going to experiment with supporting them. And then one of the other things we're very focused on is, really sort of doing some research and work around the ROI of caregiving. So understanding, how caregiving impacts families in terms of their time and stress and money. And then also thinking about how our support can move the needle. We see tremendous cost savings for families. We see an enormous impact in stress and well-being, but really being able to quantify that.
That would be great. The cost savings coming from working with people who know the system and can work the...
That's right. I mean, it's, first of all, we help families contest and negotiate insurance bills that were erroneously coded, and, families don't need to pay that, and we help to correct that. We also help families get on the most appropriate insurance plan for their care needs. And then when we're finding sort of an in-home aid or a long-term care facility, whatever it may be, we're able to find the best quality care at the lowest cost, the most kind of affordable care for that family. And so we just do the more thorough legwork that families don't have time or bandwidth or background to do. And so we can get much better pricing for them.
So if you're an FA, how do you broach the topic with clients?
We do hear from FAs that sometimes they can be hesitant to ask about caregiving. It feels like it's personal, and I'll share, our observation is that families want to talk about what they're dealing with. So FAs shouldn't feel shy about saying, how are your parents? Are they getting older? Do you know where their savings are? Do you think you're going to have to, would you want to kind of help pay for care, or how are you and your wife doing? How's your health, and any concerns or considerations for the future regarding your health, and also to have conversations with families around their wishes. As you get older, would you want to stay in your home or consider kind of moving into an assisted living environment where there are other people of your age? What interests you for the future? So I think FAs, should start kind of developing their own set of questions around caregiving, both for clients' parents and also for clients themselves.
Right.
And I'll say, I think the caregiving topic is a really interesting way for FAs to engage the younger generation.
I was going to say multiple generations there.
Exactly. So even to say to families, we'd love to bring your kids, your adult kids into the conversation to make sure they understand where your finances are and what your wishes are for the future, and allows that FA to build that cross-generational relationship with kids. So those would be some tips that I have.
Excellent. What's one major trend you see playing out over the next year or several years?
Well, I have to say the caregiving trend, the focus on supporting caregivers and the impact that caregiving has on the work environment and on finances. I think FAs, the more they tune into kind of this notion of caregiving, however it manifests itself with parent, child, spouse, or an individual, client who's dealing with their own chronic condition, it can't be ignored.
Now we have a segment, and you'll see it on the website. It's trend or fad.
Great.
So I'll mention a couple topics, and you can tell me whether you think it's a trend or a fad.
Great.
You can expand upon it if you'd like or not.
Great.
Wearables, trend or fad?
What is a wearable?
What do we call those? Smart.
Like smartwatches and stuff.
Smartwatches and stuff.
Fad.
Avocado toast, trend or fad?
Fad.
Intermittent fasting, trend or fad?
Fad. I'm going to say fad to everything, right? I like the intermittent fasting notion, but it's very hard to pull off.
It is, yeah.
And avocado toast, you can't go wrong with, right? I've never met one that I didn't like. But
yeah, but the avocados keep getting more expensive, don't they?
That's the problem.
Yeah, and then it was avocados last year, what have you, and it was something else before that. I don't, what's next?
Yeah, that's right. There's going to be some new combination that's genius that we just never thought of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be on the hunt for that.
That's
for
right.
the next trend or fad.
That's right. That sounds good.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us on Trends with Benefits.
Thank you so much. No, this was so fun. Thanks for the great conversation and great questions.
How do people find you?
Yeah, so people can find us at wellthy.com, WELLTHY.com, or follow us on Twitter. We are Wellthy is our Twitter handle. And then also follow us on LinkedIn. So we are very focused on the impact of caregiving on the workforce. And so we do a bunch of webinars, and we have an exciting white paper that's coming out with VanEck.
Excellent, yeah, and you can find that white paper on our website at VanEck.com. And I'm really excited for you guys. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Ed.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Trends with Benefits.